Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our 2013 NFL team preview. We're taking a look at the Green Bay Packers. We're going to break down their offense, their defense, as well as their special teams to see what we can expect from the Packers this upcoming season.
What more can you say about Aaron Rodgers? He's what I would consider the prototype at the quarterback position. He's athletic, he's mobile, he's an accurate passer, he has a rocket arm. The impressive stat to me is the fact that in the last 2 years, he's only thrown 14 interceptions to 84 touchdowns. That's impressive. Definitely one of the league's best. The battle will be for the backup job with Graham Harrell, B.J. Coleman, and undrafted rookie free agent Matt Brown. And all three are vying for that backup spot. Out of all the guys, I like Brown the most. I'm a big fan of his game and what he was able to do at Illinois State. He led a high-powered Redbird offense run for over 10,000 yards in his career. In my opinion, what was a question mark last season is now a strength. In the draft, the Packers took two talented runners in Eddie Lacy out of Alabama and Jonathan Franklin out of UCLA. Both guys instantly upgrade the talent in the backfield. Lacy shows good burst for a guy his size and is in the mold of a Michael Turner that used to play for the Atlanta Falcons. But I think Franklin is the better of the two. He definitely has a total package to his game. He's an elusive runner, an excellent receiver out of the backfield, and he has elite vision. And he's also very good at pass protection. That's the most important thing in this offense. So with these two new additions and a more conscious effort to strike balance within this offense by head coach Mike McCarthy, then this Packers offense could be that much more dangerous in 2013. On from this unit this year are longtime Packers, Donald Driver and Greg Jennings, and there's always a question mark when you lose guys of that caliber, but the Packers are banking on Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb stepping up as viable 1 and 2 options, and quite honestly, they played that way all last season along with talented wideout James Jones. Those three combined for almost 2,500 yards and 29 touchdowns. Cobb is the most explosive one out the bunch. Nelson is the matchup nightmare because they move him all around the formation, and Jones has all-around game and has actually led the team in touchdowns last year with 14. I also like what they have in 7th round draft pick Charles Johnson out of Grand Valley State at 6'3", 225 pounds. Johnson is in the mold of Jordy Nelson, and he's finished his career at Grand Valley State with over 2,200 yards, 31 touchdowns, and averaged a whopping 106 yards per game last season. At tight end, there's Jermichael Finley, who's one of the better tight ends in the game. Finley has been battling inconsistency throughout his career, but when he's on, he's almost like another wide receiver out there for the Packers. And there's a need for a second tight end in this offense. There's two guys in the mix, DJ Williams and Andrew Quarles, who's coming back from injury. It'll be interesting to see if Williams can realize the potential that he showed at Arkansas, or Quarles can come back 100% after missing all of 2012. All in all, this is a very good core of wide receiver and tight ends for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 51 times last season, which was 31st in the league, and the Packers were also 20th in rushing. Needless to say, the offensive line was a big reason for that. And there's some movement up front this year as former first-round pick Brian Bulaga, who's coming off surgery, is moving from right tackle over to left tackle. And some are concerned about that move, but not me. I think Bulaga was a premier prospect coming out of Iowa, and he'll do fine on the left side. Marshall Newhouse is holding it down at the right tackle position. They have rookie 4th-round pick David Bakhtiari and 3rd-year man Derek Sherrod out of Mississippi State providing depth at both tackle spots. They're hoping Sherrod can get back to 100% because he was a premier tackle prospect as well coming out in the draft in 2011. On the interior, they're moving their best guard, Josh Sitton, to the left side. He's going to play left guard this season, and TJ Lang goes to guard after seeing a lot of time at right tackle last year. And I like what I saw last season from Evan Dietrich Smith at center. I think he's a keeper at that spot. But keep an eye on rookie J.C. Treader out of Cornell. He's a guy that played left tackle in college, but he can play guard, he can play center. He can essentially play 3 spots along the offensive line. This is another area of concern for the Packers. Lack of production, depth, and consistency have all plagued the Pack up front. Nose tackle Ryan Pickett is pretty good in the middle, especially versus the run, and they're looking for someone to help him keep fresh all season long. Jordan Miller is listed as the backup, but I like undrafted rookie free agent Gilbert Pena out of Ole Miss. His upside is tremendous, and his best football is ahead of him. In the first round this year, they took Detone Jones from UCLA. He was one of the best defensive linemen in the country. He's also one of the most versatile. He can play every position on that defensive line, every technique possible. Jones is slated to start opposite of B.J. Raji, who is talented but has bouts of inconsistency throughout the course of a game. He has to find that flatline level of consistency in order to be an effective player and get back to the Pro Bowl. Darrell Worthy could be that guy if and when he returns from injury, as well as 5th round pick Josh Boyd out of Mississippi State. I think Boyd has a really good chance to have an impact this season. I actually like the linebacking core of the Green Bay Packers. It all starts with Clay Matthews, who's one of the more feared pass rushers in the league. He'll be back at 100% after missing the last 4 games, and opposite of him is Nick Perry, who was taken in the 1st round last year out of USC and was living up to the hype prior to going down with injury and missing the remaining 10 games of the season. Desmond Moses was an undrafted free agent last year that stepped in and played some very good ball. And 6th round draft pick Nate Palmer out of Illinois State is one you want to keep an eye on. He was a pass rushing threat at the FCS level. On the inside, there's Brad Jones, who re-signed with the Pack or extended his contract with the Pack. And there's A.J. Hawk. Now, while they're solid, they are not impactful players in my opinion. I do think young guys like Terrell Manning, Jamari Lattimore, and 7th round pick Sam Barrington out of South Florida can have an influence this year, especially at A.J. Hawk's spot. Gone is future Hall of Famer Charles Woodson, and his presence and production will be missed, but this is still a very good unit even without Woodson back there roaming the secondary. 2 solid starting corners in Sam Shields and Tramon Williams. Both guys are technically sound, and that's what makes it tough to go against these guys for wide receivers and quarterbacks each and every week. Last year's rookie 2nd round pick Casey Hayward had a great rookie season. He had 6 interceptions and 21 pass breakups. He's an ideal slot corner. This guy has elite quickness and instincts. That's exactly what you need. Those instincts are valuable in the slot because you have to make those quick decisions. And Devon House out of New Mexico State is another solid player that could actually start for most teams in the league. They also drafted Micah Hyde, 5th round pick out of Iowa this year, who eerily compares to Hayward. And on the back end, Morgan Burnett is one of the best young safeties in the league. He has that range. Is also very good in the running game. Now, there's a battle at the other safety spot between Jerron McMillan and M.D. Jennings. McMillan is more versatile and gives you more flexibility in your defense, but Jennings is a tough hitter and is going to be a tough out to beat at that starting spot. Both guys will see time regardless, and this is overall one of the best units, if not the best unit in the NFC North. Overall, the Packers have a solid special teams unit from top to bottom. The kicking game, the coverage units, even the return game. And I know there's a question about Mason Crosby, but I still think he's one of the better kickers in the league. Last year was the aberration. This year, he'll get back to the Crosby that we've seen over the course of his career. Punter Tim Maystay has a booming leg and does a great job with distance, which is why the Packers re-signed him to a contract extension. You look at the return game, Randall Cobb is one of the best kickoff and punt returners in the game. A lot of times, teams will utilize their receivers or running backs in that role. Now him moving into the starting spot, you may see him scale back a little bit as far as a returner. So you may see a guy like Jonathan Franklin as a rookie as a kickoff returner, or maybe even Jeremy Ross, who did some of that last season for Green Bay. So there's options back there for the Packers in the return units, and they'll still be fine. So I have no issues with this special teams unit as a whole. Still one of the best in the conference. Now let's take a look at what the Packers have. Number 1, elite quarterback play with one of the best quarterbacks in the game in Aaron Rodgers. You're going to always have a chance when you have excellent play from that position. Talented back 7 on defense. Their linebacking core, in particular the outside backers and the secondary, are very good, and they have a great special teams unit top to bottom. Because you got to remember, you have to win in all 3 facets of the game, and if you can do that with special teams, offense, and defense, you're going to win a lot of ball games in the league. Now what they lack, they don't have the consistency along the offensive line as of yet. They also don't have inside linebackers that are impactful. We talked about that earlier. And the defensive line depth is a big concern for me heading into the 2013 season. Reason for optimism for the Green Bay Packers: number 1, you have the best quarterback in the game in Aaron Rodgers. 2, you added running back help. Not only just one running back, but 2 outstanding collegiate running backs that's going to help bolster that running game. And defensively, you get a lot of your key playmakers back. So there's a lot of reason for optimism if you're a Green Bay Packer fan. The cause for concern, in my opinion, would be that defensive line and the lack of depth. If they can't find guys that can step in and provide that rotation, give those guys a blow from time to time, and this team gets tired toward the end of the season or they suffer an injury, then that could be a problem. And also, if Mike McCarthy doesn't call a well-balanced football game, that could also derail any hopes that the Packers have moving forward. The road to the Super Bowl for the Packers goes as follows. Number one, keep Rodgers well protected. That goes without saying. He got sacked 51 times last year. That can't happen this season. And two, the running game comes to life. Two outstanding young tailbacks. I can't stress that enough. Yes, as a former running back, I'm sort of biased toward the running back position, but this is an excellent group of guys that they drafted in the draft. They have to get that running game going. And third, the defensive line gets defensive by staying aggressive, staying after the quarterback, being effective in the run game. And if they can do their part, finding depth and getting that rotation going, we know the back seven will take care of itself. Have the Packers finishing second in the NFC North. This is a very good football team. As much as I'm excited about the running game and seeing where they're going to go this season, I still have some slight questions about that offensive line and a defensive line. So you can't really have a team that has question marks on both sides of the line of scrimmage going into the season as a number one pick. So I still think this team has enough talent to make the playoffs. I just don't think they'll have enough to knock off the Chicago Bears at the number one spot. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Packer fan forums for always showing football game plan support.